It's Jack Lessenberry, 313-778-7600. Okay, oh, great. We're joined now in the studio by another official candidate for governor who's ideologically much different from Jennifer Curran of the Green Party, but who's also had trouble getting much media coverage. Todd Schleiger is the nominee of the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which elsewhere in the country is known as a Constitution Party. Todd, thanks for making time for us. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for having me on the show.
I don't know if it's a coincidence that he said Jennifer on my left and you on my right, but anyway, I'll just go with it. Could you explain? I'm a little confused too because I thought of it as a Constitution Party, and then I thought of your party sometimes as the old Tisch Independent Citizens Party. Can you sort of explain to us how the nomenclature came about?
Well, actually, I'm new to the U.S. Taxpayer Party as well.
Okay,
I was originally running as an independent in the race, and the U.S. taxpayers came to me and asked me if they could nominate me.
It's a lot easier to be nominated by an official party than to run as an independent.
Well, yes, it is. We collected signatures quite a few different times, and the state kept turning them down. So the best case scenario was to accept the nomination.
Right, because the law in Michigan is that there's 6 recognized parties. If they hold a convention, or in the case of the Libertarians, Republicans, and Democrats have a primary, then you're in. Otherwise, you have to get some, although that's now in doubt because a judge said that the threshold was too high, but you have to get thousands of signatures. And so, but are you aligned with the philosophy of the Taxpayers Party?
Yes.
So tell us briefly what that is.
Well, the U.S. Taxpayers Party stands for equality, and, basically, they are small government, and they're based on the Constitution.
Now, some people are going to be cynical because you have, for example, Republicans say they're in favor of small government, and they're in favor of just big government in other ways, it looks like, when they actually get there.
Well, I got into this race because of Flint, but at the same time, we have to do something to crush the duopoly, so to speak.
The Republican Democratic domination.
Correct, for the simple reason that, when we go up against these candidates, not only do they fight to keep us off the debate stage with them, but they're not really the candidates running the show on it. It's the parties.
Right.
So we got to quit that.
You're saying they're figureheads.
That's all they are is figureheads.
So they don't have much independent.
They sign loyalty contracts with the parties.
Right.
And that's not right.
So tell me, small government, what does that mean to you? Let's say a miracle happened and you became elected governor. How would you change things? What would you decrease?
Well, let's look at it this way. I'm the only candidate out here that is promising to lower auto insurance up to 70%.
How?
Well, that's real simple. We take the state back to an at-fault state and make the MCCA or the Michigan Catastrophic Claims optional.
Okay.
That would literally get us to almost 70%.
So you would have the option of paying more to be covered under the Catastrophic Claims Fund.
That's correct.
Right now, everybody's covered whether they want to be or not.
Correct. And that's what's forcing auto insurance so high. You got people out there that are actually paying more in auto insurance than their own car note. That's not right.
Wow. That's absolutely true. And there's a lot of people who can't pay it at all. By the way, we're talking to Todd Schleiger, who's the nominee of the U.S. Taxpayers Party for governor this year in Michigan. What else would you do? How else would you shrink government?
Well, first off, we have to start looking at restructuring our tax system, okay?
Right.
There are a lot of people that are for what my plan is to take our state income tax to a 3-tier system instead of a flat across the board. It would benefit 80% of the people just by that alone.
What would be your tiers?
Well, if you make $150,000 or less, you would drop down to 2.5% instead of the current 4.25%.
Right.
If you make between $150,000 and $350,000, you would stay where we are right now at 4.25%. And if you make over $350,000, you would go up to 6%. Okay. It actually offsets each other, so there's no hole or no budget deficit there.
Right. So it's a wash.
It's a wash. But at the same time, where the people that would be paying actually the 6%, they don't mind that because my plan is also to effectively eliminate the property tax here in Michigan on your primary residence only.
Well, that would hurt the schools. They still
no, it wouldn't.
No? Tell us why.
My restructuring has a $20 billion budget for our schools.
Okay.
All right. The state would the schools already. We already know what the schools already spend annually in Lansing. We would make sure that the money goes into the classroom more than what it has been, Instead of, in other words, it's students over the administration.
Right.
I mean, right now they say that each student's getting a little over $11,000, but only $1,500 is actually going into the classroom. That's wrong. The number should be the other way around, to where the students are receiving more of the money than the administrators.
Well, most of that is teacher salaries,
which needs to go up.
Right. So, how would you put that up and then yet get more money?
Well, again, that's what the problem is. Okay, the people are being told that our budget is currently $57 billion, right around there.
Right.
Okay, but between the state and local governments, we are collecting over $131.7 billion. That's what we collected last year.
Right.
But the budget is only $57 billion. Now, I'm rounding that off. I think it's actually 57.2.
But whatever, it's close enough.
The thing is, we need to restructure. We need to make sure the money is going properly to where it needs to be. In other words, into our classrooms, into our teachers. I mean, my plan also sets $1.2 billion off to the side to bring in 2 years of community college, which that would include our trade schools, our vocational schools, and a perfect example of that would be Specs Howard.
Exactly. Well, those people at Specs Howard will love you. 313-778-7600. Before we take a call, I wonder, Todd, tell us a little bit about your background before we're running for governor.
Well, first off, I've never been in public office. I've been in the transportation industry for 35 years, everywhere from driving truck to managing major corporations here in Michigan as transportation.
Wow.
So I know our roads real well.
Right, every last pothole.
Just about. I mean, we got potholes out there with annual birthdays.
Well, what made you? Well, I want to ask you what you do about the roads, but first, what made you decide to chuck your sanity aside and run for office?
Well, I've refrained from running for public office for almost 25 years. And Flint, which is my hometown,
right,
with the water crisis happening, I had my brother called me and asked me if I was finally angry enough to get into this race to make a change for Michigan. And I told him yes.
You're 51, I remember.
52.
52. It's young to me. So what would you do about Flint?
Flint, what's going on up there? I'm very upset with Mayor Weaver up there. She's sitting on her hands, and I think she's trying to play political games between the two parties.
Karen Weaver, she's the mayor who was elected after the crisis.
Yes. When she first got elected, she was doing a great job sounding the alarm and getting the attention for Flint. But after she's received all this money from the federal government and from the state, she's only spent $27 million and only replaced a little over 8,000 lines in,
so they need to replace
2 years.
The lines faster.
Yes. She should have taken advantage when we had these nearly 60 plumbing companies volunteer to come in and help.
Right.
At that point, she should have said to the people of Flint, put out ads in the local newspapers, let's grab our shovels, get these lines out, we'll pay $15 an hour. She knew she was going to get money from the Fed and the state. She'd be foolish not to know that in that crisis situation. I mean, come on. Michigan has, 20% of all the fresh water here in the world?
Great Lakes do, yes.
And this happens to one of our major cities.
It's pretty pathetic. I want to take a call from Jerry from Warren. Jerry, good morning. Do you have a question for our guest?
Yes, sir, please. Good morning, Mr. Jack Lessenberry. Good morning to your guest from the U.S. taxpayers. What I try to say over here, if it wasn't for your show, I wouldn't know there is another party they call U.S. taxpayers.
Well, that's part of the problem with the media.
Exactly. So my question will be to your guest, I want to take his opinion. Don't you think it is unfair for the other parties? They do not get representative in the media like the Republican and the Democrat. We have the Green Party, which the young lady was talking to you earlier. We have the Libertarian Party. Now we have this gentleman from the United States taxpayers. So my bigger question is to your guest, don't you think, sir, the system should be changed and all the parties, they should be treated fair and equally? Look how we criticize some countries overseas. We accuse them of one party, and we accuse them for being a dictator. We have only one Republican and one Democrat. Why we criticize other countries, we do not criticize
Okay,
ourselves.
well, let's we'll both answer, but I want to let Todd Schleiger take the first crack at that.
Well, that's
I appreciate it.
that's one of the main things I would do is level the playing field for all the major parties here in Michigan. Like Jack mentioned earlier, we do have 6 of them. I mean, we have the Natural Law Party, we have the U.S. taxpayers, Democrats, Republicans, Green Party, and Libertarian parties. All parties need to be represented for the people of Michigan. So when it comes down to a debate, I believe all of these candidates should be on the stage, not just the Democrats and Republicans. We've put out invitations for the Democrats and Republicans to debate with us, but they've flat out refused to step on stage with any of the minor parties. Now, Bill Gillenau, who is a Libertarian candidate for governor, he's complaining because he got into the primaries because of
because his presidential candidate,
Gary Johnson,
right,
correct,
got a lot of votes last time.
So, I mean, this is what's being the minor parties are being treated unfairly, and that is a loss for the people of Michigan.
The only problem with that, and Jerry, thanks for your call, but the only problem with that is that I mean, the media, you have the First Amendment, like it or not, the media gets to decide what they put on. It's not a question, nobody's suppressing them except officially, but if the media doesn't air, if a tree falls in the forest and the media isn't there, it doesn't matter whether it made a sound or not. I'm trying to redress that balance a tiny way, but there are also another complicated factor is you are a legitimate party. No doubt about it. Libertarians and Greens. Natural Law Party sort of went out of existence on a national basis. They still have I think that a convention was 7 people, and they nominated a man who we're going to talk to him later on, but still. But on the other hand, we make it almost impossible for an independent person to get on the ballot. So I think the system has some bugs in it, but I do agree, Todd, with Jerry, that we do need to be more fair. We at least in the early stages ought to have debates where people who are members of recognized parties. I think the Workers' Party is recognized also, but they're not fielding a governor's candidate. They've got some candidates for things like school board. 313-778-7600. I want to take a call from Tim. Tim, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I just had 2 quick questions for the candidate. And
Sure.
One is, illegal immigration is a big topic for me. I think the wall needs to be built. We have all these uneducated people coming in, can't speak English, taking away from the American taxpayer. Sir, do you believe in sanctuary cities? And do you believe that our country is a sovereign nation?
Well, first off, no, I do not support sanctuary cities. I do believe in actual legal immigration. I think that if an immigrant applies and goes through the process, he should be allowed to. And as far as sovereign, I believe in the sovereignty of the states and the sovereignty of the nation. So, yes.
What do you think?
Excellent.
But let me ask a follow. Wait a second, Tim.
Yes, sir.
What do you think? I think everybody pretty much agrees if someone sneaks over the border tonight, we ought to catch them and send them back. What about somebody who's been here for years and years? George W. Bush thought they should have a path to citizenship or at least to permanent residence. How do you feel about that?
The majority of the time, the people that are here,
Right.
and I mean, they are human beings. They pay their taxes.
Right.
And there's got to be some way that we can work something out. I mean, we've got people who've been here 30 years.
Right. I know a cleaning lady who came over in her
And
late teens. Yeah.
In that situation there, we need to find a path for them. I mean, I may be going against my own party on that thought, but at the same time, I believe in fairness.
Right. Tim, quickly, what's your second question?
Well, regarding what he just said there, Trump was willing to give, I think, double the amount to the DACA. What, 1 point? So I think the Trump supporters are pretty good on that. But I'm in transportation. I drive a roll-off truck. And are you the gentleman that has the plan to reduce our car insurance by 70%?
Yes, sir. That is me.
And can you explain that?
He already did. He explained how that was going to work. It has to do with.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Well, real briefly, Tim, real briefly, I don't want to recover the ground. He's going to make the catastrophic claims fund optional.
I'll go to his website and read it also.
Great. Well, Tim, thanks a lot for the call. I appreciate it. I want to take a call from Elkin. We're here with Todd Schleiger, the nominee of the U.S. Taxpayers Party for governor. What's on your mind about this candidate?
Thank you, sir. There is a group called Tax Wall Street Party, and I just happened to remember, and I did a little search. It's againstausterity.org, againstausterity.org.
Right.
And I agree with this candidate. Let me just state this real quick. The two-party system has become an intolerable straitjacket on the hopes and dreams of the American people. More than ever, we need a viable alternative to a future of budget cuts, unemployment, despair, and war. The Tax Wall Street Party is, okay, so I'm tired of all the war, and our military occupies over 190 countries. Ron Paul had it right. We shut off all the foreign military bases. We bring all the troops home. We shut off all foreign.
Wait a second. This is getting out far afield from the. Whoever is governor doesn't get the right to do that. We got to concentrate on Michigan issues here. So
right. So here in Michigan, what about the influx? This last man talked about illegal aliens. That's a concern. Income taxes, I would like to know what the actual valid legal basis that establishes an income tax debt obligation, because I now know from Title 26 of the United States Code Section 83 that my sweat equity labor cost is my contracted
Well, briefly, just real briefly, because we're getting a little far afield here. The Constitution was amended in 1913 to allow a federal income tax, and the state Constitution of Michigan says you can have an income tax. It just can't be a graduated income tax.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure. Hang on a second.
It also says in Article 1, Section 10, no state shall make anything but gold and silver coin legal tender. Why don't we have at least silver certificates?
Well, again, what you're missing, and thanks for your call, Falcon. What you're missing is that's not a function of the state government. Michigan can't start printing its own money, or the feds will come and close us down. But anyway, I'm not quite sure, by the way, how you do your tax plan, because that would seem to me to conflict. That seems to be a graduated income tax to me. I'm not saying it's a bad plan. I just think it conflicts with the Constitution.
The idea is that we need to make it so that our tax system is simplified and to make it so that the people of Michigan benefit from it. In other words, 80%. Right. I'd love to say 100%, but we all know we can't make everybody happy.
I'm not saying it's a bad plan, but as I read the Constitution, other experts have talked to me, you simply can't do that without a constitutional amendment.
Well, that's one thing that we'll have to do.
Right.
I think the people of Michigan would agree with it for the fact that they feel we're overtaxed. I mean, Michigan is one of the highest taxed states in the nation.
Well, it's debate about that. It's actually most economists say we're now sort of in the middle of the pack. It depends on how you look.
Well, here's the thing. Look at the gas tax right now.
Right.
All right. A lot of people don't realize how much we actually pay in gas tax. For every gallon of gas, we're paying 60.8 cents per gallon, and that's all. I mean, you can go to American Petroleum Institute and get all the information on all the states.
Sure.
So this is part of the issue with the roads. I mean, the state's only using less than 30% of that money towards our roads. Where
people don't understand that it doesn't go to the roads; it goes to other things. You're absolutely
well,
right
that's.
about that.
I mean, why would we be taking some of our gas tax and paying the EPA?
Well,
I mean, the Fed runs the EPA. They pay their employees.
But sometimes budgeting does look like a Rube Goldberg device. But let me ask you this, Todd Schleiger. I have two questions for you before we wrap up. Number one. The problem that all third-party candidates face is there'll be a lot of people, like the one caller says, God, I like that guy at his platform. But then it gets to be the week before the election, and the polls show it's down to a race between Whitmer and Schuette, and they say, oh, I really like Todd Schleiger, but I've got to vote for Schuette to stop Whitmer.
That's the wrong way to look at it.
Right.
I mean, our vote is our power.
Right, exactly.
And in order to break these two parties, we need to start looking at the minor parties. I mean, actually, they're not really minor parties. They are considered five major parties from the FEC.
Them third parties. I'm not calling them minor
right.
parties.
I'm making them adjustment from my own speech.
Exactly.
But the whole thing is we need to vote outside. I mean, I'd be honest, I wish that we wouldn't be voting for Democrats and Republicans and all to send them a message that the people are tired of the games.
Right. But okay. Let's say lightning strikes. People, listening and say, that guy has sensible ideas. Let's say you win. So you go up to Lansing, and you're facing a legislature that's all Republicans and Democrats. There's almost no U.S. taxpayer candidates running for the legislature. Even if they won, you just have a handful. So it would seem to me you'd either have to affiliate with the Republicans or the Democrats to get anything done.
Well, I would do the best to work with them,
Right.
but I'm not going to tolerate them violating the people of Michigan's rights. Now, Gretchen Whitmer has stole this phrase from me. I mean, she has put this out there, and I mean, you
What
can.
phrase?
Well, I said if I can't get the two parties to agree with me, we'll go around the people, or go around the parties and go directly to the people.
Right.
You know, and
I think
you
she
can
stole
go back.
that from Abraham Lincoln or something. But anyway.
She can say whatever she wants to say, but I've got
Right.
proof of me being out there campaigning for 3 years.
Right.
I have videos out there from 3 years
Sure,
ago.
Sure, but at any rate, but you think you could work and you could build something that would be a workable coalition?
Oh yes, I will work with both parties on not because I want to, but because I have to get the job done for the people. And if they fight me too much, I will go directly to the people.
What else would you do? What else would you? You know, her other slogan, which she took from Randy Richardville, it was just fix the damn roads. How would you fix the damn roads?
Well, how about actually spending the money that is collected for our roads? The gas tax, like we started to talk earlier about, was created in the early 70s for one thing and one thing only, and that was to keep up our roads and bridges safely for the people of Michigan for travel. Like I started to say also, I mean, all the other states are spending between 70 and 80% of their gas tax money on the roads. Michigan spends less than 30%. I would actually spend the amount of money that we need to take care of it. With all our taxes combined from gas tax and diesel tax, it's over $12 billion. They don't want to tell the people that. You go to the Michigan state website and it says $2.5 billion.
How did Michigan government get so off the rails?
The two parties. I'll tell you that right now. With them, it's a power struggle.
Right.
I mean, they won't literally help the people of Michigan unless they can claim a victory over the other party. And that's wrong. They were elected to be our representatives. You know, they need to start representing their districts and listening to their people. They do not listen. What they do is they listen to the party. And that's what I'm going to change.
Now, do you have a website where people can look and find
Yes,
you?
and it's real simple. You can go to checktodd.com. And it's specifically designed there to get your attention so that when November 6th comes, all you have to do is check Todd.
Check the check mark of CHECK.
Well, the website is CHECK Todd, TODD.com. You go there, you can contact me directly through the contact page. You can sign up to be a volunteer or have fundraisers with us. We have a fundraiser in Royal Oak, October 16th at Luigi's Pizzeria there. Everybody's welcome. We have free finger food there and a cash bar.
What's one thing people don't know about you or the party that you think they ought to know?
Well, I would say that they don't let me rephrase this. Nobody knows who I am because I am an unknown. But I am out here actually the only candidate truly for the people of Michigan, and I can honestly say that wholeheartedly.
Great. Well, where do you live? Where
I live in Lake Orion, Michigan.
Good.
And I work in Warren, Michigan. So
wonderful. Well, you're burning up the road yourself. Todd Schleiger, it's great to meet you. Keep us, Todd. Keep us posted, and we'll check back with you closer to the election.
Thank you, Jack, for having me.
Thanks for coming in today.